When loyalty turns deadly, in this video we will share the story of this sinister pact of best friends, follows two inseparable best friends whose bond takes a dark turn when they make a deadly pact. As secrets unravel, betrayal and obsession lead to shocking consequences. Their unwavering loyalty transforms into a chilling game of manipulation, deception, and ultimately, murder. On a cool autumn evening in the small town of Willow Creek, a group of four inseparable friends gathered around a flickering campfire. The night was still, with only the whisper of leaves rustling in the breeze. Their faces were illuminated by the dancing flames, casting shadows that seemed to leap and twist in the darkness. The friends, Emma, Jack, Lucas, and MIA, had been through everything together. From childhood adventures to teenage troubles, their bond was unbreakable. However, tonight, they were about to make a decision that would test the very limits of their loyalty. As the fire crackled, Jack leaned forward, his voice barely above a whisper. "We need to make a pact," he said, looking each of them in the eye. "A pact that binds us together, no matter what happens." Emma, always the voice of reason, raised an eyebrow. "What kind of pact?" she asked cautiously. Jack's eyes gleamed in the firelight. "A pact of loyalty, that we'll always have each other's backs, no matter the cost." Lucas, the adventurous one, grinned. "Sounds like a blood oath," he joked, but there was an underlying seriousness in his tone. MIA, the quiet and introspective member of the group, nodded slowly. "I'm in," she said softly. "I trust you all with my life." The group agreed, sealing their pact with a solemn promise under the watchful eyes of the stars. Little did they know, this decision would lead them down a path darker than any they had ever imagined. A few weeks after their pact, strange things began happening in Willow Creek. It started with whispers in the night, soft, unintelligible murmurs that seemed to follow the friends wherever they went. At first, they brushed it off as paranoia, but as the whispers grew louder and more insistent, it became harder to ignore. Emma was the first to speak up. "Does anyone else hear that?" she asked one afternoon as they walked through the woods, the usual hangout. Lucas shivered despite the warmth of the sun. "I thought it was just me," he admitted. "It's like someone's trying to tell us something." MIA, her face pale, nodded. "I hear them too. They're getting closer." Jack, always the skeptic, tried to reassure them. "It's probably just the wind or something," he said, though his voice lacked conviction. Despite Jack's attempts to rationalize, the whispers grew more persistent. They came at all hours, echoing through the night and invading their dreams. Each of the friends began to feel an increasing sense of unease, as if they were being watched. One night, as they sat around the campfire, the whispers seemed to converge, forming words that chilled them to the bone. "You promised," the voice hissed, sending shivers down their spines. It was then they realized this was not a mere figment of their imagination. Something sinister was lurking in the shadows, and it was tied to their pact. The friends tried to go about their daily lives, but the whispers haunted them relentlessly. Schoolwork, sports, and even family gatherings became difficult as the voices in their heads grew louder. Their once carefree lives were overshadowed by an invisible threat they couldn't escape. One evening, Emma received a package at her doorstep, addressed to the four of them. She hesitated before opening it, a sense of dread pooling in her stomach. Inside, she found a small, ancient-looking book with a note tucked between its pages. The note, written in an elegant script, read, "You have awakened the shadows. Heed this warning, break the pact, or face the consequences." Emma called the others immediately, and they gathered at her house, staring at the book in horror. "What is this?" MIA whispered, glancing nervously at the windows as if expecting to see a face peering in. "It's a warning," Lucas said grimly. "But from who, or what?" Jack, though visibly shaken, tried to maintain his composure. "We can't let this scare us. We made a promise, and we need to stick to it." Emma shook her head. "But what if the pact is what's causing all this? We need to understand what we're dealing with." Reluctantly, they began to research the origins of the book and the nature of their pact. What they discovered was far more terrifying than they could have imagined. The book detailed ancient rituals and dark spirits bound by promises of loyalty. The pact they had made was not just a promise among friends, it was a binding contract with a malevolent force. With their newfound knowledge, the friends realized they were in over their heads. Each attempt to break the pact seemed to strengthen the whispers, which now seemed to emanate from the very walls of their homes. The once comforting presence of each other now felt like a shared burden, as if their bond was the source of their torment. Lucas was the first to succumb to the strain. The adventurous spirit that had always defined him was replaced by a haunted look, and he began to withdraw from the group. One night, he confided in MIA, his voice trembling. "I can't take this anymore. I feel like I'm losing my mind." MIA, herself struggling with the incessant whispers, tried to reassure him. "We'll find a way out of this," she said, though her voice was tinged with doubt. As the days passed, their situation grew more desperate. Shadows flitted at the edges of their vision, and the once familiar streets of Willow Creek seemed to twist and shift, as if the town itself was conspiring against them. Paranoia took root, and the friends began to turn on each other, each suspecting the other of harboring secrets. The breaking point came when Jack, in a fit of desperation, suggested they confront the entity they had unwittingly bound themselves to. "We can't keep running," he insisted. "We need to face this head-on." Reluctantly, they agreed, knowing it was their only chance of survival. As the sun set on Willow Creek, they prepared to face the darkness that had consumed their lives. Under the cover of night, the friends returned to the woods where they had made their fateful pact. The air was thick with an unnatural chill, and the forest seemed to close in around them as they ventured deeper into the shadows. Emma clutched the ancient book tightly, while Lucas carried a flashlight, its beam cutting through the oppressive darkness. MIA and Jack walked side by side, their steps in sync as if drawing strength from each other. As they reached the clearing where the pact had been made, the whispers rose to a deafening crescendo, echoing through the trees with an otherworldly force. "You promised," the voice taunted, each word dripping with malice. Gathering their courage, Emma stepped forward, holding the book aloft. "We break the pact," she declared, her voice echoing through the night. "We free ourselves from this darkness." The ground trembled beneath their feet, and a shadowy figure emerged from the darkness, its form shifting and riding like smoke. "You cannot escape," it hissed, its voice a cacophony of the whispers that had haunted them for so long. But the friends stood the ground, united in their resolve. Together, they recited the incantation they had found within the book, their voices rising in a chorus of defiance. The figure screamed in rage, its form unraveling as the power of their words took hold. With a final, ear-splitting shriek, the shadow dissolved into nothingness, leaving the clearing silent and still. The friends stood in stunned silence, the weight of their ordeal finally lifting from their shoulders. In the days that followed, the friends slowly rebuilt their lives. The whispers had ceased, and the shadows that had haunted them were gone. But the experience had left its mark, and they found themselves changed by what they had endured. Emma became more cautious, her once carefree nature tempered by the knowledge of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of the ordinary world. Lucas, though still adventurous, approached life with a newfound respect for the unknown. MIA, whose quiet strength had guided them through their ordeal, found solace in her art, using it as an outlet to process the emotions she had buried deep within. And Jack, the skeptic-turned-believer, became a protector of sorts, always vigilant against the unseen threats that might come their way. Though their bond had been tested, it emerged stronger than ever, forged in the fires of the shared nightmare. As they sat around the campfire once more, the warmth of the flames a comforting presence, they knew that their loyalty to each other was their greatest strength. Together, they vowed to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that no matter how dark the night, they would always have each other. And as the stars twinkled above, they knew they had emerged from the shadows, forever changed, but unbroken. Hope you liked this video, so kindly support us by clicking the subscribe button.